Let's move from one rumor to the next. This one actually is true. Sources have confirmed to me and probably any other person who covers the Pittsburgh Steelers or the national media that Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan, and Tom Arth, quarterbacks coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, had a very interesting very interesting dinner last night in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And they brought Jalen Milroe, quarterback of the Alabama Crimson Tide, out to just get a deeper look. Something that the Pittsburgh Steelers do quite often, that this is not new, and they typically go for the guys with the big names that they have some interest in, whether it's early in the draft or middle of the draft. Usually those late round guys don't get dinner, but Jalen Milroe is viewed as a guy that could go anywhere from the Steelers pick at 21 to the third round, and there really is all in between. Nobody has any idea where Jalen Milroe is going to fall, and the way the quarterback class is changing at this point, it would not surprise me if Jalen Milroe went in the first round. It wouldn't surprise me if 6 quarterbacks went in the first round. The way this thing is heating up and the amount of quarterbacks that are starting to get that, well, he is pretty good status is growing by the second. Jalen Milroe's a name. You could take this show back 2 months, and I said Jalen Milroe is a name to watch for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Why? Because Mike Tomlin loves the fact that Jalen Milroe is drawing comparisons to Lamar Jackson. And that's enough for him. I'm not saying it's the best opportunity. I'm not saying it's the right call. I'm saying in Mike Tomlin's eyes, Jalen Milroe looks real familiar. So familiar that he plays him twice a year and that he wins the AFC North most times since he's come into the league. Jalen Milroe is certainly on the Steelers' radar. I was told in Indianapolis that he is very high on their radar, but names like Jackson Dart, Will Howard, possibly Tyler Shuck are also very high on that radar. But he makes sense. He does. He makes sense. If we're going to be very honest, Jalen Milroe makes sense. There are a lot of people that say this guy can't throw the football. He stinks. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Jalen Milroe is a massive project, a huge, huge risk that you will take in the NFL draft. But the Pittsburgh Steelers sure as hell look like they are a little bit open to taking a risk. And Jalen Milroe on the other side of that risk is the biggest reward by far if it works out. Jalen Milroe is the most raw quarterback in this draft. He is also the most upside quarterback after Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders of the group. He's the guy that if it does work, if it all works, he's Lamar Jackson. If it doesn't work, he stinks. And he is whatever mobile quarterback didn't work out in the NFL. I don't know where he's going to fall. I mean, I look at Jalen Milroe as a risk worth taking if you move back, but the Steelers don't have a history of moving back, and I have a hard time believing that they're going to think about it. But I do know for sure that Jalen Milroe is on their radar right now, is a name to watch for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And after running a 4.37 at his pro day, which I was told I was told it was a 4.5. It was a 4.45. That's what I was told. Most people had it, and Alabama said 4.37. I don't know if you guys saw that, but my phone says 4.37. I think he's going to climb up draft boards. I think he's going to be highly considered for a trade back into the first round type of candidate. I'm not going to rule out the possibility that the Steelers don't try to do that. I'm just not. I'm not. They passed up. Think about it like this, okay? Look at the Steelers' trends. And again, it doesn't have to be, do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Like, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with trading back in for Jalen Milroe. If you want to trade back for Jalen Milroe, there's a conversation to be had. But they're not going to pass up on the next Lamar Jackson because they didn't pass up on the next Dan Marino, even though it didn't work out. And they're determined to get this thing right, which means that they're not taking the same old boring, we're the Steelers, we don't do anything exciting approach that they've done for the last 25 years. Instead, they could look at it and say, this is a guy that's got a ton of potential. Maybe we make a move for him. Maybe he's the dude that with the first pick in the second round, we make a phone call to Tennessee and we say, here's George Pickens. We say, here's a couple of draft picks. Let's go get our quarterback. And that quarterback could be Jalen Milroe. I think he's on their radar. I wouldn't rule out the possibility that the Pittsburgh Steelers do something drastic to get him. I think it makes the most sense to move backwards to get him, if that's what the Steelers are thinking. But I also don't think that the Steelers are going to move backwards, because they are not a team that moves backwards historically. They move forwards. They don't move backwards. I got a hard time believing they're going to do that now, that they're going to switch now. What it does seem like is that they're determined to go get a quarterback. Jalen Milroe is a name to watch. I would put him on my draft board. I mean, I'm not going to ask if it's possible that they will, because I think that it is possible that they will. How bad of a decision is it if they do?
Yeah, I mean, them taking him out to dinner is the least surprising turn of events of the entire year of 2025. Anytime Mike Tomlin gets eliminated from the playoffs, he books 2 tickets immediately before he even leaves the building. It's Mobile, Alabama, and it's Tuscaloosa for the pro day. So the fact that they took out not just Milroe, but also several other top prospects from Alabama to a dinner is not surprising. How bad of a decision is it if they use a first-round pick on Jalen Milroe? I think it's a fairly big mistake if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. I understand. You need a quarterback, and you need to find the answer. And if you squint hard enough, you see the potential in Jalen Milroe. But they're in a position right now where they shouldn't be squinting and taking risks on a quarterback that should be a third-round quarterback in the bottom of the first round. So I think that it is just too much risk and not enough substantial talent that is already formed for you to grab onto. Yeah, there is a lot of raw talent there, but there's not enough fully formed. And there's also not a track record of the Steelers being able to make those formations in a quarterback. So if you're on the Steelers, I think it's a little bit too risky to grab Milroe unless he falls down to that third round.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any chance he falls down to the third round, but I agree with you. Yeah, I think the quarterbacks are going to go. Like, the more people I speak to, the more people start saying things like 5 quarterbacks in the first round. That's what the expectation is growing to. Like, Tyler Shuck is almost a lock in the first round, as crazy as that sounds. Jackson Dart is a lock, and is a lock to the point where we may be super undershooting his possibility to land with Pittsburgh, because I've heard rumbles that the New York Giants might say, screw it, we're taking Jackson Dart. That the Las Vegas Raiders might say, screw it, we're taking Jackson Dart. That the New Orleans Saints might trade back in for a late round guy. I think these names are going to fly off the board. That's the only part of this that makes me believe that there's a real possibility the Steelers do something like this, is names start flying off, start moving. The Pittsburgh Steelers are staring at 21, and Jalen Milroe's there, and he's the best quarterback on the board. They might go, screw it, let's do it. Let's take a risk. Let's try to get our guy and see if it works out for the best, and see if that's the move. And I'm telling you, I think it's a possibility. In my understanding, they're hoping Will Howard falls, and they're hoping Jalen Milroe falls, but they have less of a anticipation that he's going to. What they're looking for is a guy to be there late in the second, in the third round, where they can decide to move up if they want to go get somebody. But if not, they could sit there at the third and they could draft somebody in the third round. Quinn Ewers, but I think they're less high on Quinn Ewers. Will Howard's a big one, but I think Will Howard's going to climb. Jalen Milroe's a big one, but I think Jalen Milroe's going to climb. And then if they find themselves with Jackson Dart presented to them at 21, don't rule it out. Just don't rule it out. I think it is a possibility for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, will they be the starter in 2025? No. The answer is pretty clearly no, because chances are Aaron Rodgers is going to be the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers this upcoming season.